Biden's remarks about minorities in China from his interview with CNN on the 17th are attracting public attention. Before his speech, I will first explain how minorities are actually treated in China and what position England takes on minorities in China. When Trump left the White House last month and the Biden regime took office, Xi Jinping was thrilled and said the time and the situation were on our side. In this situation, China has been put to shame as the UK, which is suffering tremendous damage from the Wuhan pneumonia, has started to attack the CCP. UK continues to press the CCP on human rights issues for minorities in China, including the Uyghurs. The UK, which had not sought an investigation into human tissue or organ trafficking from abroad, officially announced the revision of the Medicines and Medical Devices Bill on the 11th. After the change, the UK medical community will not be able to import human tissues, organs, or cells from abroad. Senator Philippant, who proposed the change, says the world knows that the CCP is forcibly harvesting organs from political prisoners in China. Citing the conclusion of the Chinese court in March last year, he said that the first organ harvesting had been going on in various parts of China for many years, and that the trainees were Falun Gong members and with this the victims of these organ harvesting operations. Chinese political and economic analyst Qin Fang said the UK's decision was aimed directly at the CCP's first organ harvesting issue. In addition, on February 2nd, the BBC rebroadcast the CCP's reality around the world, reporting shocking interviews with Uyghur women detained in re-education camp. In the interview at the time, she said that torture and systemic rape continued in the re-education camp in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, China. A woman who was incarcerated in the re-education camp for 9 months and is now in the US says on the BBC that every night Chinese men have called the female inmates into a black room without surveillance cameras to torture and rape them. She said the men always wore masks. Another woman testified that other men were forced to assist with the rape, and that rape was systematically carried out by paying money to choose a beautiful and young prisoner. In addition, electrical torture and infiltrated procedures were performed in the camp, and there was no food unless they memorized President Xi Jinping's book.
Those who were taken inside were locked in a cell which held 8 to 16 inmates. There were cameras watching them all the time, and there were books about Xi Jinping. They have to study the book and memorize them in Chinese. If they fell, the punishment was severe.
She said she was detained for 9 months, so she was arrested in 2020 and suffered tremendous torture and pain in there. Then how were they treated there before? In 2019, shocking footage of hundreds of people being blindfolded by police in China was revealed. At the time, the video leaked on YouTube showed hundreds of people, apparently Uyghurs, blindfolded and handcuffed behind their backs sitting on the floor. They wore 2 types of uniforms, had short hair, and most of them looked completely exhausted. Also, the police monitored this group of people strictly. At the end of the video, they were led to a nearby train, which recalls memories of how German military handled in the Nazi era when they carried the Jew in masses like that. Nathan Luther, a researcher at the Australian Institute for Strategic Policy, said the satellite analysis shows the location of the video footage is the train station in West Korla, Xinjiang, China. It was also said that in terms of the length of the shadow, the shooting time seems to be around August 2018. And it was confirmed that the video was filmed with a drone made by the Chinese drone manufacturer DJI Equipment, and it is not yet known who made the recording and leaked it. A YouTuber named War on Fear who uploaded the video stated that the Chinese government's suppression of the human rights and freedom can be seen right in this video, and disappeared after just one video was posted. In 2018, a UN report said China had locked approximately 1 million Uyghurs in secret camps in Uyghur Autonomous Region of Xinjiang. However, at the time, the Chinese authorities claimed that the place they were staying was a vocational training center. They also revealed interiors that looked like they had been specially prepared for it. However, according to the satellite image analysis in July 2018, the 20 vocational training centers have had surveillance towers, high walls, barbed wire, and police dormitories, which would make a perfect prison. Xinjiang has a population of 12 million, less than 2% of the Chinese population. However, 21% of this population was arrested or forcibly kidnapped in 2017, and this became an international human rights problem. Umar Bekali, a Uyghur, was forcibly taken to a concentration camp in March 2017. At the time, the police covered his eyes and took him to the camp because he refused to sing praises of the Communist Party and Xi Jinping. He explained his experiences at the time and revealed various inhuman atrocities, such as torture, organ harvesting, and rape were carried out in the camp every day. He said torture there is not something humans can endure. Inmates were tied with metal chains and beaten like animals every day. It's not a surprise that there are deaths every day. A 50-year-old Uyghur woman who asked not to be named after she was released from the Xinjiang concentration camp said that young female prisoners are raped almost daily. She said young women are raped all night. If they resist, they threaten to inject drugs to kill them, and even give birth control to prevent pregnancy. On September 23, 2019, Radio Free Asia revealed the horrific atrocities committed by the Chinese authorities, witnessed by Kaisha Ahan, who fled to Kazakhstan after serving as a civil servant in China. She witnessed the situation when, among other things, one of the girls in the camp became pregnant after she was raped frequently and eventually gave birth to a child. And the camp threw the girl out with her baby when it became difficult to take care of her. There was also testimony that the imprisoned Uyghurs in China could be used for organ transplant. In fact, they undergo various tests in the camp, including blood tests, biopsies, and bioactive energy tests as well. At the end of 2018, the Chinese Commission of Inquiry in London, England, received this testimony. Witnesses say that all the organs needed in China were from the Xinjiang Autonomous Region. When my family had an organ transplant in Tianjin, I heard it from my doctor. Kashgar Airport in Xinjiang Autonomous Region was also found to have a priority through science for fast organ transportation. The Commission says the investigation found evidence that the Chinese authorities committed murder, ethnic cleansing, torture, sexual violence, and kidnapping of Uyghurs residents. On September 23, 2019, at the UN General Assembly in New York, President Trump pointed out China's religious persecution and inhuman practices related to it and said, "This is one of my top priorities." State Secretary Pompeo also expressed himself after talks with 5 Central Asian countries, including Kazakhstan, in the General Assembly of the United Nations on September 20, 2019. He said, "Let me make it clear that the Chinese government's persecution of the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region has nothing to do with the terrorism. We must not force them back to China." However, the CCP, which has been constantly criticized around the world for its persecution of ethnic minorities in China, has not stopped its atrocities.
他们安居乐业，享受着宪法所规定的宗教信仰自由，所以呢，根本不存在你刚才提到的一些报道当中说的所谓的新疆维族人的问题。
When President Trump left the White House and the Biden administration took office last month, Xi Jinping said the time and situation were on our side. Then why was Xi Jinping so happy that Biden became the new president? Apparently, the Biden government defines the CCP as the biggest problem facing the United States. In fact, on February 1st, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken criticized the CCP on human rights violations in Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong. However, Biden's February 17th interview with CNN had caused huge waves.
You know, Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, to vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
What do you think of his remarks that he will not speak against Xi Jinping's way of governing China by using the word different norm? Thanks for watching, comments, likes, and sharing. Be safe.